Hello there. Welcome to Discussing Fitchburg Now. This show is going to be on a recovery show, recovery from addiction. We're going to talk about the process of recovery from overdose to detox to rehabilitation to a sober living and to aftercare programs like what you go to, like AA, those kinds of meetings. The first guest I have on right now, I have Sergeant Matt LeMay from the Fitchburg Police Department, and I have Kate Duffy, recovery coach, and you're affiliated with AdCare Hospital, correct, in Worcester?
Right.
All right, so I'd like to start talking about our first response, right? So let's start with an overdose of a heroin or an opioid overdose. What happens? What happens?
Well, when we get an overdose call into our Fitchburg Police Department, we obviously have to send appropriate medical personnel along with the police officers that respond. Our officers are out on the street driving around the community, so back in 2015 we thought it was appropriate to outfit our department and the line officers out on the street with having the opportunity to have access to Narcan right in the cruisers, because they're really the first ones to respond to these calls right away.
Right.
So we got Narcan issued to all of our officers. They're in all the cars, and they can respond to these calls from any location in the city and get there pretty quickly.
So they don't need an ambulance?
Not at the onset of an overdose call. We obviously want to make sure that we get an ambulance going to the scene of any type of overdose or medical call, but we wanted to make sure that our officers had the tools in the cruiser to take care of an overdose right when they get there right away.
So there's no waiting? There's
no waiting.
When Narcan administration is really a simple procedure?
It's a very easy procedure. The product that we use is a 3-step product. You twist a couple items together, and it's a nasal application where you spray it right into somebody's nasal cavity, and hopefully the amount of Narcan that's utilized is enough to recover and to restore breathing, which is one of the side effects of an overdose.
So when there's an overdose, if they call the Fitchburg Police Department, you're the first responder.
Yes.
And sometimes the ambulance, and you always call the ambulance.
An ambulance is always going to go.
You're always going to call the ambulance.
Yes.
So during an overdose situation, if you're hopefully successfully revived, then you go in the ambulance to a local hospital.
That's correct.
Now, which hospital would you take them to?
We take them to Leominster Hospital. That's the primary hospital for our area. And in conjunction with sending them to the hospital, we currently have a program that was a pilot program through the Worcester District Attorney's Office that allows us to provide these victims with additional resources for future treatment.
So that occurs after they arrive at the hospital?
Yes.
Or
yes.
Tangentially?
When we get the overdose call, our officers try to get as much information as possible, because time is really important, and we want to make sure that we're getting the necessary people up to the hospital to talk to these overdose victims as soon as possible. When somebody overdoses, they're at an all-time low in their life. They've reached a level that's very traumatic, and we want to try to get them to the right people to talk to people as soon as possible. And that's what this program is all about.
And this is the CHART program.
CHART is actually a grant. That's not the name of our program. It's a grant that's already in the hospital at Health Alliance.
Okay.
And its intention is to provide services for mental health and addiction. Our program is under CHART, so we're doing what they're doing, but more specific on this grant. It's a pilot just for Fitchburg, a 1-year program to follow up with overdoses, 70 overdoses.
70 overdoses is the allotted amount for the grant from the district
Correct.
attorney.
It's just a pilot. Obviously, there's a whole lot more.
If it goes well, hopefully we can continue to find
Absolutely.
Exactly.
more opportunities for detox for those who want it.
Right, right.
And so Kate Duffy is a recovery coach. So were you on call?
I'm on call right now. The grant is intended to be 24 hours. Obviously, I'm the only person, so we're not doing that yet. I'm following CHART's hours. CHART's open 7 a.m. to either 6 or 9 p.m., depending on the day. And what happens is Fitchburg Police Dispatch calls CHART when there's an overdose going to Health Alliance, and CHART calls me. And I get to the hospital. So on the days and hours that I'm on call, I'm within 15, 20 minutes of the hospital, ready to go and meet people there. This program's happening in a lot of hospitals across the state right now. And again, its intention is to catch people at a time that they might be open
to
We've been
help.
operating for about 2 months, and I'll tell you, the numbers are pretty low of people wanting treatment in that very moment.
Really?
So what I love about this program, the recovery coaching, is not about just an intervention at the hospital. It's about ongoing partnership. So I'm in recovery myself, as are the people on the team. We're hiring people in the next couple of weeks to increase this team so we can cover more hours. So what we've
People
learned,
that are familiar with all
been there, done that, and what we've been
issues.
finding really works is when we ask the patient, there's someone here who'd like to speak to you about recovery. You're under no obligation to do anything. I mean, if they're clear they want detox or treatment, we'll get them in. Many of them just want to leave. This addiction takes over your brain in a way that you're not thinking clearly. So while it appears to be a low, for a lot of people, there's a lot lower to go. So what I've been finding is the majority of people I'm building a relationship with in those first few weeks, and then they're calling for treatment. So I don't take a no. If they don't want treatment, I say, let's have coffee then. Let's go to a meeting. Let's go to Five Guys. I don't care what it is, but
You're
I want to see
a
them.
dialogue.
I want to
you're
see
establishing
them.
a trust.
Yep. And in the next few days, I usually connect with 80 to 90% of them. And over time, some, back off and go back to using, but the majority are seeking treatment in the first few weeks, but only a small percentage. And it's only been a couple of months. We have 20 out of the 70 right now that we've met with. And I would say I'm active.
That have used
that have accepted talking to me, because they have to ask. The chart has to say, would you like to speak to someone, for HIPAA. I can't just walk right in. And of the 20, I would say 12 to 13, it changes every day, are involved in either some type of inpatient or outpatient treatment, or in me. Because I was there. I know you just need someone that understands. Almost no one will say, no, they won't talk to me.
Really?
Some will tell me, no, I don't want to see you again. It's really rare to have someone with substance use disorder turn away another person with substance use disorder.
Who's willing to talk to them.
Yeah. And so that's where it's cool. And then the families can get involved, which is when it really helps individuals. At the time we're struggling, we don't want our family involved. But when I can have a parent or a sibling or a aunt and uncle or grandparent, it's all kinds of family members, and they'll sign a release, then there's a team supporting people. 180 years ago when AA and NA started, it was let them wait till they're ready, let them wait till they hit their bottom.
Rock bottom.
Today we have too much going on, access to too much, I say, and a lot of us say, let's all support them, and when they are ready, we'll be there for them.
So how many of those 20 have accepted the detox program?
I would say probably 50% have gone on to detox.
And then do we work exclusively with AdCare? And
No,
with
so AdCare is managing the grant.
Okay.
And it's a community program that they're running, so I'm employed by AdCare, I'm managed by AdCare, but my goal is to find a bed, regardless.
Because they won't always have a bed.
No.
And we often find no beds. And people don't overdose all in the morning when beds are available, right?
It's always at night.
Well, it's whenever. It's actually, no, I'm saying
it's all the time.
Oh,
Yes,
you can't.
It's
during
all the time.
all day.
It is.
I'm not saying it happens every moment, but
Right.
But overdoses happen round the clock in our community and in others, and we're just doing what's necessary, that we feel is necessary for the city of Fitchburg and its residents, to try to help give them some resources.
So I make calls to a bunch of facilities. There's a whole bunch in the area, and they've been really receptive. The police are really receptive. The hospital's receptive. The families and the clients, and the treatment facilities. And
So you try to find them a bed for
We've been detox. really successful.
That's step one.
Step
one is establish a dialogue and see if
Right,
they want
build
the
trust.
help.
Right.
And then detox.
Right.
So what does a detox program look like? I've seen it in the movies.
It depends on
is it like
someone's
that?
use. So if someone has been clean for 3 years and they use once and they overdose, believe it or not, they are not eligible for detox often, because they don't have enough use in the recent terms. They may not be sick.
If they've only used once and detox?
And
How often
overdose.
does that happen? I overdose.
It happens. It happens. I mean, people's
Yeah.
bodies aren't accustomed to use, so that use can be really extreme and cause an overdose.
So what criteria?
Well, every detox is a little bit different, and this is not my thing. It's probably a little more Jack to speak about, but I'm not a clinician. But from my understanding, each specific program has criteria they have to meet, and they do an intake and an assessment on the phone of what qualifies them, and it's insurance-based. So, but typically they're in detox anywhere from 3 to 6 or 7 days. Depends on what they've been using and how long and how much. But that's where they're medically monitored. And
Medically monitored.
Yeah, well,
so
those
it's
are my
like
words.
It's like a hospital.
There are different levels of detox, and AdCare is a level 4 detox, which means there's a doctor that visits each patient every day. But they're given medication to ease the withdrawal, depending, obviously in this case it's opiates, but they can be there for alcohol as well. So they're given medication to become stable medically.
What kind of medication do you receive for a medical detox?
Different places have different. Some methadone, Suboxone. I don't think treatment. Vivitrol.
Vivitrol is a very popular one.
That's the shot.
That's
and
a
that's
shot.
not given. That's more of a maintenance.
Yes.
Now again, this is out of my league. I'm just talking from what I know,
right?
But not as a clinician. But often from opiates, it's methadone is what people are tapered with.
Are there any facilities that you work with that aren't medical detoxes?
No, they're all.
They all are controlled with some sort of anti-opiate receptor drug.
Right.
Yes.
That we work with, yeah. And then from that next level, our hope is that they go on to more care. Detox is not treatment.
Right.
A lot of people refer to.
They think they go to detox
I went
and
to
you're all
treatment
set.
10 times, and it was really I went to detox 10 times. It's not treatment. Treatment is more long term. Treatment is about re-educating, rewiring the brain, cognitive.
So, from my understanding, there's a detox, which is a short 1 week-ish time period, and from that point, you really want to go to a rehab location, which is less hospital, more therapy.
Groups, individual counseling.
But you're still in a very controlled environment.
Yes.
And this is like anywhere from 30 days?
Anywhere from 2 weeks to 30, 60 days. Insurance usually is covering up to a month, 2 weeks to a month. Statistically, the longer term treatment you do, the better odds you have of staying clean and sober.
So when they go through detox and then they go through rehab, do you still work with them? At what point, do you continue working with them?
It is our plan to work with them through the whole year, and we hope it doesn't stop. We hope that they will continue this program and have more coaches and more people, more towns. But that's another benefit. Often we get clean for a week or two, and we start to feel better, and we gain a little weight if we've lost weight. Our head's clear and we say, I'm good, I got this. Well, when you have a recovery coach that's made a connection in the ER, maybe talked to a family member, now I'm in contact with their case manager at treatment or detox, I'm already involved. I say, whoa, remember what you said when you were, let's just be open to, what do you think about being open to? There's a lot of that I do. A lot of encouragement at those little phases and transitions.
Because at points people think, I'm all set, like I'm good. Thank you for the help.
And you know what? We believe we're good.
Right.
It's true that we believe we're good.
And it's very common. You have people that go into a short-term program that they relapse, and
like
then
a 2-week.
And we're starting this all over again, and it's unfortunate.
It's discouraging.
And we have to start the clock all over again to try to get them some more help and try to encourage them for long-term treatment, because that's what's needed at this point.
Do you see a lot of people
repeat?
Yeah.
We do have that as a problem. I mean, I'm not going to say that it is the major problem that surrounds opiate addiction, but we do see repeat people that have overdosed multiple times in the community, and it's unfortunate when you go to the same house 3 or 4 times, and it's the same groups of people that are your victims. But it does happen.
And every time they go to the hospital, and every time they get an opportunity to get to a detox center,
somebody's there.
right?
Somebody's there for them.
So backing up to before an overdose situation, what are your options if you're afraid of getting to that point? Where can we go? Who can we talk to? We can go to the Fitchburg Police Department?
Absolutely. We would encourage anybody in the community that is suffering from any addiction problems, drugs, alcohol, whatever the case may be. If they want to come to our facility and talk to someone, we're always there for them.
So they can just come in and say, I want to talk to someone.
Yeah, we'll have someone talk to them. We'll have an officer talk to them. A supervisor can talk to them. And we'll try to point them in the right direction, make some phone calls for them, contact some programs if we have to. Whatever we need to do to help that individual, that's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. And you would you communicate with a recovery coach as well? Would you send them to a hospital? Where would you send them after you?
Depending on what's going on with the problem. I mean, a hospital is usually the best resource that we have to offer people help. Mm-hmm. So we'll try to get them up to a hospital and try to get them some form of counseling or treatment just from what Leominster Hospital will provide. Is a first step for us. We don't have all the answers at the police department, and this is a medical issue that people are facing, and we want to get them to the facility that's best suited to take care of them.
Right, it's a medical issue.
Yeah.
And if anyone's afraid to go to the police, although there aren't any consequences if they do go in?
There are no consequences. With the
you won't be arrested for asking for help.
No, you'll never be arrested for asking for help. The way that the Good Samaritan law works is if you're around somebody that is overdosed and there is heroin on the table, for a minor possession charge of heroin, we're not even going to entertain that. We want to get those people the help that they need. We don't want people to be afraid to call the police because there's small amounts of heroin present at the scene and they don't want to get in trouble. If there's a needle on the floor and their friend just overdosed, we want that phone call so we can save a life. And that's what our goal is to save somebody's life. It's somebody's mother, brother, cousin, it's somebody's loved one that could be lying on that floor. And our job is to try to get there and to take care of them, to get them.
So if your friend or your loved one overdoses, you don't have to worry about being incarcerated yourself.
No.
They won't look at you. They just want to save the life.
That is
what the Good Samaritan law,
yes,
which is an actual law that's been passed,
yes,
doesn't allow them to arrest you for it.
Correct.
Okay.
The police cars are all carrying my card. I'm happy to give my number if there's anybody in Fitchburg that wants treatment. If anybody's struggling, confidential, and didn't want to go to the police department, you could text or call me at 774-420-6017. Anytime.
Kate Duffy, recovery coach. You've been through these situations, so you're aware. Easy to talk to?
Yep. Confidential, safe, totally understanding, no judgment. Been there. And it doesn't discriminate. This disease does not discriminate.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay, great. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we cut to a break?
I think I'm good.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for coming. Sergeant Matt LeMay from the Fitchburg Police Department and Kate Duffy, recovery coach. Thanks for coming on. Okay, up next, we're going to continue our conversation with Jack Maroney, the CEO of RCA Centers in Westminster. So we'll see you then.
Ready in 5, 4, 3.
Hi there. We are here with the Fitchburg Rotary Club talking about the celebrity roast of Mayor Steve DiNatale.
That's right.
Yeah?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah?
For sure.
So this is going to happen October 22nd at the Fitchburg Senior Center. And so we're going to have dinner.
A very good dinner by Sean Patrick.
And a show.
And a
And
really
a show.
interesting show. A fun show.
And the show.
So who's our roast? First of all, how did you get Steve to agree to this?
I went into his office with 4 big I walked into his office and I told him about the one that we had done in Rhode Island against the mayor down there. He liked the idea and he says, fine, if you can raise a lot of money, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
He was very, very receptive. Very receptive.
Awesome. So that sounds like fun. So
Yeah.
tickets are $75 a piece, and they include a fantastic dinner from Sean Patrick's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Looks like there's a nice menu there.
Yeah.
From salads to main courses to desserts, it's going to be a
It's
great
going to be
night.
a great dinner.
And that's at the Fitchburg Senior Center. And where can we buy tickets for this fun night?
You can buy them all over the city. We've got them at City Hall, FATV, Joey's Barbershop. We've got them at the WS Beauty Supply Company. We've got them also at
Arc of Opportunity?
Arc of Opportunity. Yeah.
So you can buy your tickets there for the roast of Stephen Di Natale, Mayor Stephen Di Natale.
Right.
And so we're going to have a group of roasters, right? We're going to have comedians come in.
We got one comedian come.
Can we spill the beans? Who's going to be?
Now I want to keep it a surprise.
And actually, I would encourage anybody to get their tickets soon because they're going to sell out fast. People are already buying them.
Oh, yeah.
They're already,
That's
we've
gonna
got
be
some,
funny.
We
It's
have
gonna
some,
be a fun night.
we've got some state and local dignitaries
Yes.
that are going to be roasting.
Ooh.
We have some of his old friends from St. Bernard's coming
The
in.
ones who know all the good jokes.
Oh yeah.
All the details.
All the details is better.
All the skeletons
All the
are
details.
buried. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all
Okay.
of those. They're going to be coming in. It's going to be a fun evening. I hope it to be one of the premier social events of the year. I really do.
Fantastic. Okay, so that's October 22nd at the Fitchburg Senior Center. Tickets are $75, and it's catered by Sean Patrick's. And you can buy your tickets at all those places listed on the flyer. So, and this is hosted by the Fitchburg Rotary Club, and all proceeds go to benefit the Fitchburg Rotary Club?
All the charities that we
All
support.
charities.
All the charities that the Fitchburg Rotary Club supports.
Exactly.
Great. So this sounds like a great opportunity.
Yep.
It
and then
is.
Doors will open at 6 o'clock, and dinner will be served at 7. So
Yeah.
there's a little time for attitude
Libation.
adjustment.
Socializing.
Socialize.
Fellowship.
Smooth over. Make the jokes funnier.
Okay, great. Dan Cunningham, Nancy Maynard, and Paul Garvin from the Fitchburg Rotary Club. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's our
you for
pleasure.
having
Thank you for
Look
having us.
forward to having everyone there.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome back. I'm here with Jack Maroney, the CEO of the Recovery Centers for America at Westminster.
Correct.
Yes, and so we're continuing a conversation on recovery, the recovery process from addiction, and the new center that's going at the old Westminster Village Inn location, the Recovery Centers of America location up in Westminster, right on the highway. That's going to have that's going to run the full spectrum of recovery, from detox center to a rehabilitation center to a counseling center to even a sober living community, correct?
Absolutely. Yep. We're going to have a 16-bed detox, 32-bed acute residential rehab, and 42 beds of sober living. So we will be able to have actually an extended care program for what we hope to be anywhere from 30 to 45 days.
30 to 45 days? That's the rehabilitation adult?
That would be the typical length of stay where someone goes through, say, 5 to 7 days of detox, another 14 to 21 days of rehab, and then the sober living component, which could last up to an additional 30 days or longer.
Okay. So so the detox program is a medical detox program, like we were just talking about, correct?
Right. We're actually a level 3.7.
Level 3.7.
Level 3.7. What that is an American Society of Addiction Medicine kind of designation. So we are equipped to treat people with and manage or monitor their withdrawal symptoms, but we don't. We're not able to treat the most severely medically and or psychiatrically complicated cases.
And how does that get diagnosed before they come to you?
So I want to say everyone, but I will say most. 99% of our potential residents, patients, will have a pre-screen by which we'll
At the
determine.
hospital?
Even actually a telephonic pre-screen. By which we determine what the various dimensions and the criteria. I think Kate was talking about criteria, and there are specific lengths of usage and amounts of usage that we look at to see if withdrawal will be imminent or not. And then there are several other drugs that produce no withdrawal symptoms alone, and those people may be eligible for a direct admit right into the rehab rather than the need to go into a detoxification facility.
Right. Oh, so you're talking about different drugs,
Right.
that might cause your arrival at the recovery centers.
Correct. Many people present with different drug histories. There may be some that binge on alcohol and don't drink, on a daily basis. There may be some, I think Kate was talking about that, if the use is occasional or sporadic, but yet they have involvement with legal involvement or poor employment history or stuff like that, that they may not necessarily meet the American Society for Addiction Medical criteria for detoxification, but also they may meet it for rehab.
So they might not necessarily need a detox program, so you might be able to move them into the rehab program.
Correct.
So you don't need to go through the whole 1 through. It's not a simple 5-step process.
No, it's not necessary that it happens. In many cases, people do present with a dependency, which often requires medical monitoring for withdrawal symptoms. And so what we want to make sure is that when someone, if they are going to have withdrawal, that we have proper medical and physician oversight so that they go through that withdrawal safely.
So you have a 16-bed detox.
Correct.
And that where it's going to be opening soon?
We expect to be opening in the beginning of October. I don't want to give a date, but
it's always later than you expect.
First or second week in October at the latest, I would imagine.
And so now will that add to our overall list for the Fitchburg Police Department to locate an available bed? Or how?
It definitely will. So RCA in Westminster is part of a larger organization. So we actually have a sister facility, Recovery Centers of America. Actually, it's called New England Center for Addiction Medicine, and that's going to be opening in Danvers, and that will ultimately be, I think, 207 beds.
Wow.
And I think between both facilities, we're going to actually bring an additional 300 bed capacity into Massachusetts, which will hopefully kind of make a difference in being able to place people into treatment when they need it.
Well, when I see daily lists of beds that are available, and there's not a lot. There's 9 beds here, 2 beds here, 5 beds here, and that's a list that's only maybe this long.
It is challenging. It is not necessarily easy and can be a very frustrating process for both families and people in need of services to find a place to go.
So
we hope to make a difference with that one.
It sounds like you will,
yeah.
with 300 beds total. And so 16 detox beds, and then you have about 40 of the rehab.
Well, 32, but we're not going to hold you to that. Yeah.
And now you have the sober living component, which is the after the rehab.
Correct.
Now, how does that work? That's a 30-day program.
Well, it really is indeterminate, so it really depends on a person's presentation, and again, sometimes it goes by the American Society for Addiction Medicine criteria as to how long it really is appropriate for someone to stay on the facility grounds. I think for everybody it's different, so we really pride ourselves in being able to look at the individual and provide individualized care. So in many cases, if we get a professional that has a family, a job, and a relatively safe environment to go back to, that stay will be shorter than if we have a young adult that maybe is no longer enrolled in school, having trouble in the neighborhood at large that he happens to occupy his time in, and his support group says it probably is going to be a little bit longer before he's able to come back home.
Might need a little more time to transition.
He'll need some time to kind of develop those coping skills, and I think time is, like anything else, it's kind of like an immersion. So if you want to learn a new language, it's not so easy to do in a week, but if you have to actually go to another country and stay for a few months, you're much more able to pick that up. Same is true with recovery skills. The longer you're able to practice those, the better the opportunity will be to continue to practice those same skills when you go out into the community.
So your program is you're aiming for about 45 days for some.
Correct.
And your program includes different therapies and counseling services, correct?
Correct. Actually, there are a couple of different phases that our residents will go through. And primarily in the very beginning, especially if they're not feeling well, we're not going to be, providing hours and hours of, psychotherapy, that's for sure. And a lot of our focus will be on motivation to get them to continue in treatment. But as their stay kind of goes on and their ability to kind of assimilate the material and the psychoeducational stuff that we're providing, the program will broaden, become much more extensive. We'll be providing motivational interviewing, CBT, DBT.
What is CBT and DBT?
Cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, just kind of acronyms that are all over the place.
It's a talk therapy.
There are pieces of that that are involved, but definitely there's talk therapy. There'll be definitely the group dynamic. There'll be psychodrama and additional parts of what we intend to offer.
Psychodrama?
Yes.
Is this reenacting situations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we actually have 2 therapists on board that are actually trained in that specifically, and actually one of them has their Screen Actors Guild card still, so they're actually pretty good in that.
How should you act in this situation?
Well, just the ability to kind of let your emotions go, and at the same time understand that they're not going to envelop you. So it's being able to handle a situation sometimes differently than you would normally respond to that.
That sounds like a really good idea.
Yeah, well, we hope that it's going to have a really good effect. So, I mean, along with the therapeutic counseling modalities, we're also going to have a lot of wellness activities on the premises, yoga, tai chi, qigong, massage, acupuncture in group, Reiki. We'll have therapy dogs on the property.
Calming.
Yes.
Calming.
Yeah.
Therapy dogs.
Yeah. The property in and of itself, you've been there.
Yep.
I think you've even been married there.
Yes, I did.
And so the environment is truly outstanding.
Yeah, you're going to have you're going to keep the outdoor pool, or did you rebuild the pool?
Actually, we did rebuild the pool. So the pool is now heated.
So you can use it year-round.
We'll be using it much longer than it was in use before.
Yep.
And actually, interestingly enough, the deck is actually heated by radiant heat now.
Yes.
And we'll actually be using the pool a lot more for aquatic therapy treatment.
Yeah.
So we have a physical therapist on board, and a lot of what we intend to do will be assessment for chronic pain and alternative strategies for chronic pain management that don't necessarily include medication.
Because a lot of people come on from an addiction from painkillers. They had an injury, and they had a prescription to opioids, and that spiraled out of control.
Right.
So they might have recurring pain that you need to deal with through non-medical needs, right?
Absolutely. And so along with the chronic pain alternative strategies that we're going to employ, we actually have a specialty track for injury-induced addiction that specifically looks at opiates and what the causes are and all of that. And we have staff that are really experienced in that kind of specialty, and that'll be another specialty track that we'll get to, because that is, as you said, becoming more and more relevant in today's world.
A large percentage, right, of opioid addiction stems from the prescription.
More than ever before, I will definitely say that. I'm not so sure what the percentages are, but you're absolutely correct. It's definitely a number that is much larger than ever.
And they've been working to curb it, but it's still there. And it's been happening for years for some people.
Well, it has. It's been an ongoing problem. I think, obviously we always talk about access and availability, and I think those help fuel some of the things that are going on today with the current opioid epidemic.
And so, like Kate was saying, a lot of her recovery coaches are in recovery themselves, right? So you were also in recovery, correct?
Absolutely.
Yes. And you wrote a book about your experience with your friends, right? The East Side of Addiction.
Yes, and so that was a book that was co-authored by myself and two of my childhood friends. And really the book chronicles, pretty much our life growing up. And I hate to say this, but I'll say it anyways because I think the gray hair gives it away and lack of. So the book starts in the early 60s, and I often sometimes say it's one of the longest longitudinal studies of addiction that's currently out there because our friendship spans close to 60 years. And so we have that experience from the both sides of the tracks, and so one of the things. So
this book is a recount of your childhood history of use.
It is. It's an account not only of our childhood history and how addiction became more and more prevalent in our lives. It's also a story, an Amazing Grace theme story of how we were able, those of us that were fortunate enough, were able to escape from those ravages and turn our lives around and now kind of endeavor to do things that have a lot more meaning.
So I haven't read the book yet, but how does it end?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Without giving it away.
But actually, the ending really is kind of a recount of many of us, and so it talks about those of us that we lost along the way, and we talk about the opioid epidemic now. I remember growing up.
You relate it to how it was in the 60s?
Well, honestly, it didn't make the same headlines, but I lost more friends from overdoses than I did from the Vietnam War.
Really?
Yes. I mean, so this has been going on for a long time. It is becoming more and more relevant because I think the number of deaths, and even more so, I think the real unfortunate thing is the age of many of the young people that are dying. It
right, teenagers.
It's affecting.
Was it like teenagers back when you were young?
Well, I think for most of us back then, I mean, like, most of us probably growing up didn't know anything except, probably alcohol. My first experience with marijuana was when I was in college, so that was like late 60s. And then by the time, I graduated from college, it was all the other stuff had come rapidly in succession right after that. And so for a lot of us, we didn't have that early exposure. And I think one of the things that, even neuroscience tells us is that these young minds are still so much under development, and they're not really able to kind of really understand the gravity of some of the circumstances that they put themselves in.
So this is The East Side of Addiction, and it's written by Jack Maroney, who's with me now, Henry Grossi, okay, and James Dyrida. All right, and people can buy this on Amazon.
Correct.
As well.
Yes.
Okay, so, and it just goes to further illustrate your commitment to recovery from not only yourself, but from the community. Correct?
Absolutely. I mean, and
you've been doing this job for a long time, correct?
It seems like I've been doing this job all my life, from one way or another, either getting prepared to do or learn about it. And ultimately, my first job in recovery was driving people to meetings, and I thought, wow, this is like the greatest thing in the world. And from there, things just kind of continued to progress.
Fantastic. So the Recovery Centers of America at Westminster, we have Jack Maroney here, who's the CEO, and that'll be opening hopefully in October.
Early October,
and that'll help to alleviate some of our problems with a lack of bed opportunities for people that seek treatment.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on, Jack.
Thank you for having me, Sam.
Okay, great. So up next, we're going to continue our conversation on the recovery process. We're going to have Donald Flagg, who runs the Crossing Over Sober House in Fitchburg. So we're going to talk to him next. Okay, we'll see you then.
3.
Hi there. Sam Squalia here with Debbie Jeffries, a teacher at Crocker Elementary School who has a grand plan to beat the current Guinness Book of World Records for largest display of scarecrows.
That's right, and the current record is 3,812.
Yeah, what you just saw in the screen, that picture is the current record holder in Staffordshire, United Kingdom. So they're the current winners, and so we want to get over 3,812 scarecrows.
We're trying to really reach 4,000 because someone else might be trying to break the record as we speak.
Mm-hmm. So, good point.
Yes.
So we need the entire community and surrounding areas to help make a scarecrow for an October 15th planned display of the world's largest display of scarecrows.
That's right.
Okay, so there are a couple of rules. Each scarecrow must have 2 articles of clothing.
That's right. 2 articles of clothing, doesn't matter. It could be a shirt and pants, jacket, shirt, dress, hat, scarf. We'll leave that up to you.
Just shorts and a scarf?
If you can figure that out. And also, it has to be able to stand firmly in one place by itself.
So a stake in the ground, like maybe a 5-foot wood stake with a 2-foot arm that you nail into the stake, and you put a shirt.
That will be perfect.
And so it's a traditional scarecrow design with like straw or other stuffed things into the clothes.
Right.
Like maybe a bag for the head or...
Yeah, you can use a bag for the head. You could use a pillowcase for the head. Anything you can think of. And we have something added to it that if you bring 5 scarecrows, if an individual brings 5 scarecrows, you will get a chance at some wonderful raffle prizes. We're working on some donations from some local businesses right now.
At least $100.
And there's a $100 bill that I'm donating.
Aha! Right. So 5 scarecrows get you a chance at winning a $100 bill.
And if it's a child that donates the 5 scarecrows, besides getting their name put in for the chance for the gift certificates, they will also be able to take a prize from a prize tub.
Ooh.
So
nice. Okay, so October 15th, that's the big display day, and that's going to be at Crocker Elementary School in Fitchburg. And so you want to you can bring your scarecrows that week before, the day of, or if you make them in advance, Debbie will take them right at Crocker Elementary School anytime from now on.
And if anyone has a question, I have a Facebook page called Calling All Scarecrows. Please like it, share it, and feel free to contact me through that.
Yeah, you can see the flyer right on Calling All Scarecrows on Facebook. And you can share that flyer and make sure everyone you know, contact your work. We need 4,000 scarecrows. If everyone gets involved, we can make it happen.
I think we can.
And then after the scarecrows are made and displayed and we won, what do we do with the scarecrows afterwards?
Well, we have a couple of ideas. One of them we discussed before about decorating some of our streets in Fitchburg. And then there's another one that I really can't talk about right now.
But we'll have a bunch of scarecrows to decorate the city as well. So this is going to be a double win.
Right.
Yeah. So Calling All Scarecrows on Facebook, October 15th, that's the big display day, and I'm sure it'll be fun to watch everybody set up the scarecrows as well, so you probably want to come down there for that. And so make your scarecrows. Okay? Debbie, anything else to add?
Let's get Crocker, not only Crocker, but Fitchburg, not only put on the map, but on the globe.
Love it. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Welcome back to Discussing Fitchburg Now. Our recovery from addiction process, we're culminating right now with a group sober home living discussion.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
So we have Donald Flagg here, who's the director of the Crossing Over Sober House.
That's right.
In Fitchburg on Mount Vernon Street.
Yes.
And then we have a couple residents. We have Tom and Steve, and you're currently living there.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. And how many other people do you live with currently?
There's 5 other residents and a house manager right now.
5 other residents and a house manager. So you're full.
Yes.
You're stacked.
Mm-hmm. There's plenty of room though.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, so when you say stacked, they're.
I'm being a little dramatic.
5 guys in a house though, it does get a little interesting at times.
Oh, yeah.
Try 8.
8 at times. Yeah, it gets a little interesting.
So your program, you aim to have a 6-month to a 12-month living program.
That is correct.
Yep. And so how long have you guys been living there?
I've been there 7 months.
7 months?
I'm in my first month there.
First month?
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, Tommy's been there 7 months with us, and Steve just came on board. And yeah, he's doing phenomenal, all of them.
This is good perspectives.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So how do you get referrals into your home?
So generally we get referrals a couple ways. Either someone will refer somebody personally. A lot of our referrals come from the detox programs, facilities. They'll call us. Some of them will come in from, also we've gotten clients before in the past from parole or probation. You know, clients that are trying to transition back in, but generally from the detox programs or facilities that they'll have somebody transient out that has completed some level of care and is looking to continue that care in a structured environment. So that's generally how we get a lot of them. And they'll fill out an online application, and we'll review that application, and then generally is a phone conversation and some clear guidelines and expectations, and if we think it's a fit for them and they think it's a fit for us, then we continue to move forward with the process.
So right from the beginning.
Yes.
Okay, so I get referred to your home.
Yeah.
And so what's the first step? Do we talk on the phone? Do we visit?
Yeah, well,
do you visit with people in the facilities?
Generally, we will. That has happened. Sometimes it's really over the phone. We'll get an application from them. They'll usually have a case manager that'll represent them. Generally, someone will call who's a case manager and say, "Hey, I got Tom here, or somebody here who has completed this much care and they're looking to place." We'll say, "Okay." Generally, the phone conversation will talk at that moment, and then we'll tell them to go out and fill an application online, and we'll tell them we'll get back to them within 24 to 48 hours. And that starts the process. And then we go from there. It's just generally conversations, and then once we do that, we make a time to bring them in and set them up.
And so if you have space in your facility and they're the right fit, then they are granted into your facility.
Yep. So then, go ahead.
And if you don't have space, you refer them out?
Yeah, so a lot of times when they are in that type of environment, the caseworker will then continue to case work and continue to work.
They'll find another home.
Yeah, they're
has
grinding.
a bed.
Yeah, they're grinding. They are always out there reaching. They don't stop at one. You know, they're just trying to find and place these people because they want to continue the care, and it's tough. It's not always easy to place somebody that's coming out of a treatment facility. You know, I'm sure the guys can talk a little bit more about that, of what that process was look like on the inside.
So, Tom, how did it work for you when you first did you continue from a rehab program?
I came straight out of detox. I had called and left a voicemail, talked to Donald. Something wasn't opening up that very day that I had gotten out of detox, but later that week I came up, I met with him, met the guys that were in the house, went to an outside meeting with them that night. They invited me to an outside meeting that night.
Like a Celebrate Recovery
Yeah, Celebrate
meeting?
Recovery or an AA or an AA meeting.
I believe it was an AA meeting. It was in Townsend.
Okay.
Yes,
It was in Townsend, AA meeting. I went with the guys. I went back to the house. I filled out all the paperwork, had my application on board, and then that very Sunday coming up, I moved into the house. And I've
So
been there ever since.
within a week.
Yep.
And you've been there for 7 months.
Yep.
And how did you know that this was going to be a good fit for you? How did you know that you wanted to join a group living?
When I was in detox, we had talked to a few different houses, and I knew what kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Structure and environment that I needed. I needed something that was going to hold me accountable for my actions and my time. Because if I didn't have that, then I'd be back in trouble again.
So how do you hold your residents accountable and have a structured environment that they can succeed?
Yeah, so there's a couple of different ways that we believe that we are successful in that environment. One, we do have curfews based on the phase that they're on. We try to operate on 3 to 4 phase, which means you got a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. And so if they're at phase 1, then they're at an 8:30 curfew, and to get out of that phase 1, they need to do the things that they should be doing. Sponsor, get a home group, get connected to the community, continue to work on their recovery and build their network, because ultimately that's the goal, right? We want them to be able to build a network to be successful with these tools that they learned in the house.
So find employment or volunteer opportunities?
Yeah, so we do that. You know, each guy we assess differently, depending on where they are. You know, each guy came in. You know, Steve came in. He had worked really hard at a lot of things. You'll hear a little bit about that. So Steve's case was a little different. He came out. He had already had a bunch of things lined up for him. But yeah, so if there's job employments that they needed, based on the assessment of where they're at, we'll continue to get them jobs. We'll work with them. We have job spots with some of the local businesses in the area, which is phenomenal.
Nice connections.
It's great. It's truly, we can't do it alone. You know, it's really a community-based thing to help get these guys going. We do drug testing in the house regularly. Safety is our core value.
So unscheduled drug testing?
Yes. So most of them are unscheduled. Yeah, and again.
So if you know that you're going to be you can't use. It's more of a structure for you.
Zero tolerance level.
Zero tolerance.
Yes.
So you're a dry, zero tolerance group living facility.
Abstain from all mind-altering drugs.
Does that include cigarettes?
No, they can smoke cigarettes. Yeah.
That's not mind-altering. That's mind-soothing.
So that's something that. It's up to them individually if they want to do that. We don't control or micromanage that.
Right.
You know, it's the narcotic substances that we're here for.
So, Steve, how did you decide that this was the right environment for you?
Steve put in a lot of work before he got here.
I did.
He did.
I did. I did a little work, just a little bit. Well, I've known Donald for about 2 years now, so Donald's been a big part of my life moving forward. And before I came here, I was at the Salvation Army program for 6 months, and I put in a lot of work there, and I was ready and ready to move on to the next phase.
So what is the Salvation Army program?
It's a drug and alcohol program, a spiritual-based program where you just, it's pretty structured. You work for them, and you go through their programs.
So it's like a live-work group living environment?
Yeah, you live in their building, you work for them in their building, and you go through their steps in the recovery process. I'd been there for a little over 6 months, and I'd reached out to Donald that it might be time for me to move on. And I did have a few things lined up. I had a great job in Fitchburg through an old sponsor in AA, a connection. He got me the job, and Donald just happened to have a bed available, and I said, "Listen, man, I think it's time for me to start and move on." And one of the reasons why I wanted to go to Donald's place is because it is a Christian-based program, and
it's a Christian-based program for men.
Yes, and my faith was one of the biggest parts of my recovery. So. I knew that it was an incredibly safe place, and it's guiding me towards the same place that I want to go, that I want to end up. I know that they will support that, and Donald's been phenomenal in helping me reach some of the goals so far. And it's been tough because, I went from having a very structured daily life in the Salvation Army to
having a little more freedom?
Well, I don't have any freedom, to be honest with you. I work, 55-hour plus weeks, and I'm in a meeting or something in recovery every single night. So my nights and my days are pretty packed. I don't know if I have a day off. So, but it's a good change, and it's good to be busy and moving toward a goal that I want to obtain.
What is the goal that you want to obtain?
Is to become a productive member of society again. It's something that I value, and it's something that I used to be, and I lost a little bit in my years of alcoholism and addiction. So it's what Donald offers is something that I definitely want to move forward with. And that's why I could have moved anywhere in the state, and if he didn't have a bed, I would have waited. Because I know that it's such a safe and productive place.
Tommy too is one of the reasons he might share a little bit more about his story is that what you're hearing is these guys reconnecting, and that's why we do what we do. It's really, people see the addiction, but there's a person behind every addiction. Tommy's got a son. And I remember one of the conversations that we had with Tommy, he was like, "How do I leave my son?" but he knew he needed help. You know what I mean? And so we had that conversation. I remember that conversation that we had, and I told him I said, for such a small moment of time of your life to build a foundation.
Heal yourself first.
And you know, he has done tremendous things. You know, from coming in to, you know, I think getting a job. Well, you kind of had a job.
I had the job. I got a new vehicle since I've been there.
Yeah.
So you've been able to save money.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing when you're not using how much money you wasted out there. Like I mean, I've been out of work now for a little over 3 months. I've had multiple surgeries on my left foot, and you know, I've gotten reattached with my in-laws. I lost my wife 4.5 years ago to this disease, and you know, I've gotten reattached to my in-laws who've been taking care of my son while I go through this process, and you know, they love me every day, and you know, it's more than my own family did for me, so I have to be very thankful.
You know, one of the beautiful things about it is, you know, is that you see Tommy when he grows, is that he's done the work. All we did was create the environment and the structure, but they have to do the work. You know, we just provide a place, but like, you know, he's connected with his son again. I think one of the most touching moments that I had was the Father's Day that we had at church. You know, and it was one of the first times that he was able to have his son by himself. You know, and you know, to see him come walking in with his boy, it was absolutely amazing. You know, so you know, that's what we try to do, and we do hold him accountable. You know, we do push him at times. You know, we have those tough conversations. But
you build a family.
It's community based.
You're with the same group of people for a long time, so you're working together.
That's the thing. Going through this program and bettering my life, I have 3 times as many friends in my phone now going to these programs than I did before.
And these friends are good.
Yeah, I changed my
solid friends.
I changed my number, my phone, everything.
Deleted all the other friends.
Yep.
I remember when he did that.
That was the hardest thing in my life.
I bet.
You know.
So your living situation, you have to pay a rent.
Yes, they pay their own
You have to pay a fee, and so you want to gain employment. In order to do that, there's an initial fee that you have to pay, and then there's the monthly fees. And so a lot of people come to you very low, and they can't afford these fees. So you are trying to raise money to get a scholarship program.
Yeah. That's correct.
And so you're doing a 5K.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's October 1st.
Yes.
It's called the Kobata 5K.
That's it.
Kobata.
Yes. Very good.
Crossing over.
Bringing awareness to addiction.
Bringing awareness to addiction.
That's right.
And so that's October 1st at Coolidge Park.
It is.
And you can sign up for the 5K. You can run. You can walk.
Yes.
And you have family fees and, you know, your family group rates and all of that.
Yes. Yep. We have all that, and all the proceeds that we raise go to creating a scholarship for helping guys out just like this as they come in. A lot of times some of them don't have jobs. Right. And so the scholarships is going to go to either helping pay their first 30 to 60 days, or even sometimes in Tommy's case where, you know, you got a guy that's doing really well, but because of a medical injury, you know, if we weren't able to help him
for a few months, and
you know,
I need help.
Yeah. So what do we do? You know, we don't want to put him out. You know, so it's really about continuing that process.
So all the funds that you raise go to support the Crossing Over Sober House, which goes to support really our community.
Absolutely.
And so you can sign up for that at the what's your website?
CrossingOverSoberHouse.com.
CrossingOverSoberHouse.com.
Yep, and then at the end of that, it'll be /5K for information about the race. And so check it out. Make sure you register. I know you might be there. You said, right?
Huh?
You might.
I was thinking about it. It's on my list. I've been training. I did 5 miles this morning.
Oh my goodness!
All right, I'm not going to win, but I could finish.
Yes. So we're looking for the community to come out. We wouldn't have been able to pull this event off without the community. Mayor Stephen, the Chief of Police, they have been instrumental in playing a part and giving us full endorsement to, you know, pretty much almost seemed like they gave us the keys to the city. Once they endorsed it and they loved what we were doing, they kind of sparked the excitement. Okay, we can do this. You know, the city's been working really hard, as you saw earlier part of the show, to make those things happen. So we're just looking forward to it. We can't, you know, I can't, but we can. So we got a bunch of communities coming out and some local businesses coming out, and there's going to be vendors there for information, resources. We got about 20 different vendors and community things coming
So
out.
that's Saturday, October 1st.
Saturday, October 1st.
And this is to benefit the Crossing Over Sober House.
It is.
And if you want more information on the Crossing Over Sober House, you can go right to their website, crossingoversoberhouse.com, or in their Facebook page. Right?
That's it.
Okay, so thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us. It's been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Donald, Tom, and Steve.
Thank you. Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much, Sam.
Good night.